In the previous lesson, you have learnt about the concept of disaster and disaster management and various other concepts related with it. In this lesson, I am going to tell you about Bhopal Disaster, a case study. A man-made disaster to help you to understand what is a disaster, its impact and its various dimensions. In the year 1984, Bhopal, the capital city of Madhya Pradesh, India, witnessed the world's worst man-made disaster. Commonly, it is referred to as Bhopal gas tragedy. It was a gas leak incident at the Union Carbide India Limited, a pesticide plant in Bhopal. Consequently, a large number of people lost their lives and property. Objective: this lesson would help you to understand what is a disaster, its impact and its other dimensions. Bhopal gas tragedy began in the midnight of 2nd December 1984. More than 5 lakhs people were exposed to methyl isocyanide gas and other chemicals spread over the habitation in and around the plant. The government of Madhya Pradesh confirmed a total of 3,787 deaths due to the gas leakage. In addition, it caused 5,58,125 injuries, including 38,478 temporary or partial injuries and approximately 3,900 severely and permanently disabled injuries. The cause of the disaster remains unconfirmed. The Indian government argues that relaxed management and overdue maintenance created a situation where pipe maintenance caused a backflow of water into methyl isocyanide gas tank, which caused the disaster. Union Carbide Corporation contends water entered the tank through the act of sabotage. Civil and criminal cases were filed in the District Court of Bhopal against Union Carbide Corporation. In June 2010, 7 employees, including the former chairman, were convicted in Bhopal of causing death by negligence and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment and a fine of about $2,000 each. The release: the gas leak started approximately at 2 am. 15 minutes later, the plant public siren was sounded for an hour and about half. Most city residents who were exposed to the gas. Acute effects: the initial effects of the exposure were coughing, severe eye irritation and feeling of suffocation, burning of the respiratory tract, breathlessness, stomach pains and vomiting. People awakened by these symptoms fled away from the plant. Thousands of people had died by the following morning. In the immediate aftermath, the plant was closed by the Indian government. The initial investigation was conducted entirely by the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research and the Central Bureau of Investigation. Union Carbide organized a team of international medical experts as well as supplies and equipment to work with the local Bhopal medical community, and technical team began assessing the cause of the gas leak. The healthcare system immediately became overloaded. In the severely affected areas, nearly 70% were underqualified doctors. Medical staff was unprepared for the thousands of casualties. Doctors were not aware of proper treatment methods for gas inhalation. Within a few days, trees in the surrounding areas become unproductive and overstuffed animal corpses had to be disposed of. Over 1,70,000 people were treated in hospitals and temporary dispensaries. Supplies, including food, became inadequate owing to suppliers' safety fears. Fishing was prohibited, causing further supply shortage. The Government of India passed the Bhopal Gas Leak Disaster Act that gave the government rights to represent all victims, whether or not in India. Complaints of lack of information or misinformation were widespread. A government representative said, Union Carbide is more interested in getting information from us than in helping or relief work. Official announcements were issued that air, water, vegetation, and foodstuffs were safe, but warned not to consume fish. Over 2 lakhs children were exposed to the gases. In less than 1 month, the state government established a number of hospitals, clinics, and mobile units in the gas-affected area to treat the fatalities. Long-term health effects. The Indian Council of Medical Research was not allowed to publish long-term health effects data until 1994. Complete data about the long-term health effects are still not available. The total of 36 wards were marked by the authorities as being gas affected, affecting a population of over 5 lakhs. Of these, about 2 lakhs were below 15 years of age and about 3,000 were pregnant women. A number of clinical studies were conducted. The findings of different reports support each other. The reported long-term health effects, missing or insufficient fields for research are female reproduction, chromosomal aberrations, cancer, immunodeficiency, neurological problems, post-traumatic stress disorder, and children born after the disaster. Late cases that might never be highlighted are respiratory insufficiency, cardiac insufficiency, cancer, and tuberculosis. A 2014 report in Mother Jones Court, a spokesperson for the Bhopal Medical Appeal, which runs free health clinics for gas victims, as saying an estimated 1,20,000 to 1,50,000 gas victims still struggle with serious medical conditions. Healthcare, the government of India had focused primarily on increasing the hospital-based services for gas victims. Thus, hospitals had been built after the disaster. When Union Carbide Corporation wanted to sell its shares, it was directed by the Supreme Court to finance a 500-bed hospital for the medical care of the gas victims. Thus, Bhopal Memorial Hospital and Research Center was constructed. The Bhopal Memorial Hospital and Research Center was inaugurated in 1998 and was obliged to give free care for gas victims of the gas tragedy for 8 years. It was a 350-bedded super specialty hospital where heart surgery and hemodialysis were done. There was a dearth of gynecology, obstetrics, and pediatrics. 8 mini units, outreach health centers were started, and free health care for gas victims were to be offered till 2006. The management had also faced problems with strikes and quality of the health care. Sambhavna Trust is a charitable trust registered in 1995 that gives modern as well as Ayurvedic treatments to gas victims free of charge. Environmental rehabilitation. When the factory was closed in 1986, pipes, drums, and tanks were sold. The MIC and the 7 plants are still there, as there are storage of different residues. Isolation material is falling down and spreading. The area around the plant was used as a dumping area for hazardous chemicals. In 1982, tube wells in the vicinity of the Union Carbide Corporation factory had to be abandoned, and tests in 1989 performed by Union Carbide Corporation laboratory, it was revealed that soil and water samples collected from near the factory and inside the plant were toxic to fish. Several other studies had also shown polluted soil and groundwater in the area. In order to provide safe drinking water to the population around the Union Carbide Corporation factory, Government of Madhya Pradesh presented a scheme for improvement of water supply in December 2008, the Madhya Pradesh High Court decided that the toxic waste should be reduced to assays at Ankleshwar in Gujarat. There were protests from activists all over India. In June 2012, the Center for Burning of the Toxic Bhopal Waste agreed to pay 1250 million to dispose of the Union Carbide Corporation chemicals plant waste in Germany. In August 2012, Supreme Court directed the central government and the Madhya Pradesh government to take immediate steps for disposal of the toxic waste lying around the factory within 6 months. A US court rejected the lawsuit blaming Union Carbide Corporation for causing soil and water pollution around the site of the plant. Government, not with Union Carbide Corporation. In 2005, the state government invited various Indian architects to enter their concept for development of a memorial complex for Bhopal gas tragedy victims at the site of the Union Carbide. Occupational and habitation rehabilitation. It was planned to construct 50 work sets for gas victims. Out of this, 33 work sets were started. All except one was closed down by 1992. In the year 1986, the Madhya Pradesh government planned to construct the special industrial area at Bhopal. Out of the planned 200 work sets, 152 work sets were built in 2000. Out of the constructed work sets, only 16 work sets were partially functioning. It was estimated that 50,000 persons need alternative jobs and that less than 100 gas victims had found regular employment under the government's scheme. The government also planned 2,486 flats in 2- and 4-story buildings in the Widows Colony outside Bhopal. Economic rehabilitation. Immediate financial helps were decided 2 days after the gas tragedy. Relief measures commenced in 1985 when food was distributed for a short period along with ration cards. Madhya Pradesh government finance department allocated 87.4 crores for victims of relief in July 1985. Widow pension of rupees 200 per month, later it was 750, were provided. The government also decided to pay rupees 1,500 for families with monthly income of rupees 500 or less. As a result of the interim relief, more children were able to attend schools, more money was spent on treatment and food. Eventually, housing conditions were also improved. From 1990, interim relief of rupees 200 was paid to everyone in the family who was born before the gas tragedy. By the end of October 2003, according to the Bhopal Gas Tragedy Relief and Rehabilitation Department, compensation had been awarded to 5,54,890 people for injuries received and 15,300 gas victims of those killed. The average amount to families of the dead was about rupees 66,000. Activism. Since 1984, activists have played a role in the aftermath of the gas tragedy. The best known is Satynath Sarangi, a metallurgic engineer who arrived at Bhopal the day after the gas tragedy. He founded several activist groups as well as Sambhavna Trust, the clinic for gas-affected patients where he is the manager. Other activists include Rasida Bai, Champa Devi Shukla, Abul Jafar and Rachna Dhingra. Rasida B and Champa Devi Shukla received the Golden Prize in 2004. Local activism. Soon after the gas tragedy, representatives from the different activist groups arrived. The activists worked on organizing the gas victims, which led to violent suppression from the police and the government. Numerous actions have been performed demonstration, sit-in, hunger strikes, marches, combined with pamphlets, books, and articles. Every anniversary, actions are performed. Often these include marches around Old Bhopal, ending with burning of effigy of Warren Anderson, the chief executive. International activists cooperation with the international non-governmental organizations, including Pesticide Action Network UK and Greenpeace, started soon after the gas tragedy. One of the earliest reports is the Trade Union Report from the International Labour Organization 1985, a session of the Permanent People's Tribunal on Industrial Hazards and Human Rights took place in Bhopal, and in 1996, the Charter on Industrial Hazards and Human Rights was adopted. Important international actions have been the Tour of Europe and United States in 2003, the marches to Delhi in 2006 and 2008, all including hunger strikes, and the Bhopal Europe bus tour in 2009. Activist organizations. About 14 different non-governmental organizations were engaged in relief work immediately after the gas tragedy. The first disaster reports were published by activist organization Eklavya and the Delhi Science Forum. More than 10 local organizations engaged on long-term have been identified. Two of the most active organizations are the women's organizations, Bhopal Gas Peedit Mahila Stationary Karmachari Sangh and Bhopal Gas Peedit Mahila Udyog Sangathan. More than 15 national organizations have been engaged along with a number of international organizations. Some of the most important organizations are International Campaign for Justice, Bhopal Medical Appeal, Bhopal People's Health and Documentation Clinic, Chingari Trust, Students for Bhopal, USA, and International Medical Commission on Bhopal. Summing up, the year 1984, Bhopal, the capital city of Madhya Pradesh, India, witnessed the world's worst man-made disaster. Commonly, it is referred to as Bhopal gas tragedy. It was a gas leak incident at the Union Carbide India Limited, a pesticide plant in Bhopal. In Bhopal gas tragedy, more than 5 lakhs people were exposed to methyl isonate gas and other chemicals. The gas and the other chemicals spread over the habitation in and around the plant. There were a total of 3,787 deaths due to the gas leakage, and it caused around 5,58,125 injuries. It is argued that relaxed management and overdue maintenance created a situation where pipe maintenance caused a backflow of water into a methyl isotonous gas tank, which caused the disaster. Civil and criminal cases were filed against the Union Carbide Corporation, and 7 employees, including the former chairman, were convicted of causing death by negligence and sentenced to a fine of about $2,000 each. The gas leak started approximately at 2 a.m. and spread over the surrounding areas within no time. The initial effects of the exposure were coughing, severe eye irritation, and feeling of suffocation, burning in the respiratory tract, helplessness, breathlessness, stomach pains, and vomiting. In the severely affected area, nearly 70% were underqualified doctors. Medical staff was unprepared for the thousands of casualties. Doctors were not aware of proper treatment methods for gas inhalation. Long-term health effects are chronic conjunctivitis, scars on cornea, corneal opacities, early characters, respiratory tracts, obstructive and reflective diseases, pulmonary fibrosis, aggravation of TB, and chronic bronchitis. A number of measures were undertaken for environmental, occupational, and inhabitation rehabilitations. Model question. Question 1. What is Bhopal gas tragedy? Question 2. What were the causes of the disaster? Question 3. What is acute effects? Question 4. What were the long-term effects of gas disaster in Bhopal? Question 5. Describe the rehabilitation measures taken after gas disaster in Bhopal. References: Phillips, B.D. 2005, Disaster as a Discipline, the Status of Emergency Management, Education in the U.S. International Journal of Mass Emergencies and Disaster, Volume 23, 1. Perkins, Jamie. The Calamity of Disaster, Recognizing the Possibilities, Planning for the Event Managing, Crisis and Coping with the Effects. Public Safety Degrees, a Global Report. Reducing Disaster Risk and Challenges for Development by UNDP, 2004. Climate Change and Disaster in India, Mall, R.K. and R. Kumar and R. Bhatia, 2010. Journal of South Asia Disaster Studies, SARC. Disaster Management Center, New Delhi. Crisis Management from Despair to Hope. Third report, Second Administrative Reforms Commission, September 2006, New Delhi. Disaster Reduction in United Nations, 2011. Roles, mandates, areas of work of key United Nations entities.